Hi guys, Grand J here, and welcome to the third part of our Union Force set review. Today we'll be talking about the green cards. So, first card to talk about is Cell, the leader card. It has activate main once per turn, place one card from your hand underneath this card, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards with an energy cost of 3 or less, and KO that card. On the Awaken side, it has activate main once per turn, place one card from your hand underneath this card, draw two cards, and place two cards from under this card into the drop area, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, and KO that card. So, this card is a really strong leader. Front side has a pseudo destruction ability, much like Beerus. And on the Awakened side, he's got ability to draw two cards and ability to just destroy any sort of battle card on the field as well. So this leader is really strong. The most interesting thing about this leader is that it doesn't need to attack. So unlike a lot of pretty much any other leader, they need to attack to use their abilities. So he can destroy 3 or less with, on his Unawakened side without attacking, unlike Beerus. And on the Awakened side, he's able to kill anything by just getting rid of two cards. So this entire strategy is built around putting cards on the cell and then using those as fuel to trigger off his Awakened ability to just destroy any card on the field, which is a really strong ability towards the mid to late game when he's basically able to destroy any major threats instantly. Do note his his Awakened ability allows him to draw two cards by sacrificing one card from your hand. This does have its pros and cons. So if you do have a hand where every card is relevant and you don't want to get rid of a card by putting it under your leader, then that is a bit of a drawback. But I think we've all been in tons of situations where we've drawn cards that we want in specific matchups or we want in early game and so on. And towards the late game, they're not too relevant. So cards like this, for example, are Objection and Results of Training. So these are cards that get us towards a faster mid game, but after we do get to a mid game or late game, drawing those are dead cards. So this is just ultimately the best pairing with a card like Objection. If you draw it in the early game, that's fantastic. If you draw more copies during the mid to late game, you're not forced to put them down in energy. You just put them underneath your leader, draw two cards, and cycle through your deck. So this leader does cycle through your deck extremely quickly. So you are going to get to a lot of your combo pieces. And yeah, because it's an android, there is certain support for it as well. Next, we have Son Gohan and Father-Son Kamehameha Goku and Gohan. So on the front side, when this card attacks, if Son Goku is in your drop area, this card gains plus 5,000 power for the duration of the turn. So it's a leader card that's able to pump itself up to 15,000 very easily from its Unawakened side, which is great, which means that if you do get stalled and you're not awakening, you can still pressure the opponent's leader by constantly attacking it with 15,000. So that's really strong ability. On the Awakened side, of course, auto when this card attacks, draw a card, but also activate battle once per turn. Remove all your cards from your drop area and from the game. Remove all your cards from the drop area from the game. This card gets plus 5,000 power and triple strike, but you lose the game at the end of the turn. So this is one of those really, effectively, it's the only sort of all-in type of effect we've seen so far in the game. It's very reminiscent of this point in the anime where Goku and Gohan were beam struggling against Perfect Cell, and so front side this card is actually pretty good. Definitely, despite it being able to pressure Awakened leaders, I still feel that most decks, probably most of the time, want to force themselves to Awaken, simply because drawing that extra card every turn when you're attacking is actually really, really good. His Awakened side has interesting pros and interesting cons. I think that this is going to be one of those cards that's very difficult to use in the sense that if against opponents that don't sort of plan out nearly as much on you, you always have the ability with your leader to just threaten triple strike. So any point when you are attacking with your leader into your opponent's leader, you can always threaten being able to go up to 20,000 triple strike and then dump your entire hand and just be able to kill them. So that makes this leader that's very problematic for a lot of decks to play around, simply because you're always threatening the potential to swing games in such a major way. So I like this leader. I think it's definitely too much all in to play at a competitive level. But being able to just threaten it at any point is really, really good. If you're in any sort of situation where you do have quite a significant amount of hand advantage, you can just go for the game and try to go for the Hail Mary and try to swing out for the entire game, dump your entire hand, try to push this guy up to 80 or 90. And if your opponent has say 6 or less cards, they just generally can't do anything about it. Or they always have to be using negate to try to negate the attack of your leader. So this card I think is actually surprisingly better than one might think, but it's typically one of those cards where you really need to have a good gauge on how strong your opponent is in order to play this card well. Next, we have Android 17 and Diabolical Duos Android 17 and 18. From the front side, well, both on the front side and the back side, reduce the energy cost of all Android 17 and Android 18 in hand by 1. This card does awaken at 6 life. So at 6 life, you can awaken, and on the awakened side, if you have 4 less life, all your Android 17 and 18 get plus 5,000 power, and when it attacks, draw a card. So to sort of break this down, first thing to note that even though it says all your Android 17 and 18 gain plus 5,000 power, what it's been ruled and how it's been sort of defined is that all cards with either 17 or 18 that are either 17 or 18 gain plus 5,000 power. So what that means is that your Android 17 18 leader will only get up to 15,000. It doesn't take 2 copies of the bonus, so it's only at 15,000, which makes sense. That being said, I really like this leader. So the Android 17 and 18 cards are all a little overpriced for what they do, but being able to bump them down from the 5 cost ones to 4 cost ones is quite good, and the 3 cost ones to 2 cost is really, really good. And then if you get to 4 or less life, making them plus 5,000 power just gives them a significant extra value. I really like this leader. I think it's actually really strong for like a sort of mid-gamey sort of aggressive deck. It's really, really strong, really good. I really like it. I like this leader. Being able to awaken very early is really good. It's sort of very reminiscent of how androids have like an unlimited power supply. So they've got unlimited energy. So that's why awakening at 6 is relevant for them. So they can like use their ability to draw cards much earlier in the game. So yeah, there's not a lot to dislike about this card actually. So it's a great card. I like it. I've been tinkering around with my own Android Cell build, and yeah, it's been getting good results. So first of the battle cards is Inherited Will Super Saiyan Son Goku. So it's a 6 cost 25,000 power, double strike. At the end of the battle, after this card attacks, place this card in your drop area and choose up to 1 battle card whose name includes Son Gohan in your hand and play it. So, yeah, for 6 cost, double strike 25,000 power, not particularly amazing. And it's not really a game-ending card. It seems like a lot of cards around the 6-7 mark right now are all like game-ending cards. So you really have to expect your 6 cost cards to be able to push your opponent into a situation where they're going to lose. Now, typically, yeah, so there's definitely quite a couple of Son Gohans you can play. Do note that this card says any any card with the name including Son Gohan. So that can be any Son Gohan from teen to adolescence to future, as long as they have the word Son Gohan in their name. So that's a very interesting thing to note, because a lot of other cards, they all specifically mention a card type. So like a card Son Gohan adolescence or something. So this can like play any Son Gohan, including Miraculous Comeback Son Gohan. That being said though, some cards that are very relevant for this are like Fully Trained Super Saiyan Son Gohan. So it's a 4 cost double strike 20k and you get a Piccolo. Or I think that what the card's really sort of designed for is to be able to play down your Piercing Super Saiyan 2 Son Gohan for free, which is a really strong finisher within itself. Talking about this card though, I don't particularly like it, because effectively it gives you a big Gohan if you have it, but like it doesn't itself do very much without Gohan. So if you don't have the 7 cost Gohan, or you don't have a big Gohan, then this card is actually very weak, because you have to destroy this card at the end of the battle. So if you don't happen to have the combo with this card is effectively a dead card. That being said, I'm not a big fan of this card. In most situations, I probably would want to play Awakening Rage Son Goku instead. But yeah, if you are playing a Gohan build, then definitely this card synergizes into that build very well. Next, we have Bundle of Curiosity Son Goku. So it's a 2 cost battle card with 10,000 power, which is about on curve. When you play this card, draw a card. So this is basically the green variant of Energy Boosted Majin Buu. Now we know that Energy Boosted Majin Buu was really, really good in the first set, simply because it was a 1 cost that drew you a card. This is a slightly higher cost version than it, and because it's a higher cost version, it's significantly less flexible. So the fact that it costs 2 means that it's much more unlikely to be able to just like throw this down whenever you got a spare energy open. Wasting 2 energy on effectively cycle a card isn't very strong in my opinion, unless you're building a deck that specifically synergizes with Goku's, such as like the Vegito deck or something. This card probably won't see much play. In a lot of cases, you're probably going to opt for the Majin Buu if you do have the option to play blue anyways. And because there's a lot of cards, like most decks are, if most decks have to go dual color, they're probably going to be splashing blue anyway, simply to have access to stuff like sensu beans and have access to objections. In a lot of cases, if you don't require something that says Son Goku specifically, energy boosted Majin Buu is the way to go. Next, we have Piercing Super Saiyan 2 Son Gohan. So we spoke about this a little bit before, but it's a 7-cost 25,000 power battle card with double strike. So double strike is interesting. Typically, you expect a card of this sort of level to this cost and structure to have triple strike, but he does have a very relevant ability when he does auto in. So when you play this card, and when your opponent combos during the duration of this turn, choose all your opponent's battle cards in the battle area and combo area with cost of 3 or less and place them in the drop area. So effectively what this is saying is that for the entirety of the turn, when you play this card, every time your opponent combos with a 3 or less card, then you basically wipe all their cards that cost 3 or less as well. So this removes them as combos. So effectively your opponent can't combo or defend that turn with 1 to 3 cost cards. And if they do, they lose all those combos, and they also lose all their battle cards with that cost as well. So it's a really strong finisher. It basically locks your opponent up for an entire turn, so you can push through. So I like this card. It's definitely something that sort of pushes towards a sort of game pitching sort of structure. Playing it by itself on turn 7 is probably not good enough though. So if you play this card on turn 7, your opponent is probably going to just instantly throw down negate on this card, and then you don't really have much else going for you. You then have to attack with other guys, attack with your leader, but then your opponent has less threats to have to deal with. I think that this card is generally better if you can play it with the 6-cost Goku, in the sense that you can play down 6-cost Goku. You don't have to attack with that Goku straight away on that turn. And then on the following turn, you can attack with the Goku, get this down for free, and then play any other follow-up threats as well. The effect of this card to blow up battle cards of 3 or less isn't super relevant, in the sense that green already has so many effects that just hate on anything that's 3 or less already. So that's not a big part of this. The only value that killing all the 3 or lesses is that when your opponent does combo, and if their opponent's sitting on a whole bunch of 1-cost cards like Boos and Bulmas and stuff, then it wipes them all entirely at the same time. That being said though, I'm not a huge fan of this card, but I do think that there are sort of combo decks that are going to play this at some point, and they're going to have a really strong finisher. So yeah, I do suspect that this card will see competitive play, and it'll be around sort of mid to upper tier. Next, we have Fully Trained Super Saiyan Son Gohan. So it's a 4-cost 20,000 double strike, so that's pretty much on curve. So it's not an amazing card on curve, but it's just it's about what you expect. It's got an auto ability. When you play this card, choose up to 1 Piccolo with energy cost of 3 less from your deck and play it, then shuffle your deck. So this is actually quite strong. So being able to play any Piccolo from your deck that costs 3 or less, and I think all Piccolos at this stage, all 3 or less, is quite good. Most of them have very relevant ability. So the one from this set, Ready Strike Piccolo, is a 15,000 blocker. That's also got ability to reduce your opponent's hand down to 6 at the end of their turn. But most notably, I think that this card is probably going to be able to help you a lot with Boost Attack Piccolo. So in that regard, yeah, if you're playing any sort of green-blue variant, then definitely you're going to be able to grab Boost Attack Piccolo, and then you can combo with him straight away to effectively draw a card and plus 10,000. I think most cases you'll be playing Radio Strike Piccolo just because he's a better battle card. He's a stronger blocker, and he's got better stats, but there definitely will be situations where if you are playing a blue leader, where Boost Attack Piccolo can come in and will be handy. Next, Supreme DNA Son Gohan. So it's a free cost 15,000. If there are 2 or more Son Goku in your drop area, reduce the energy cost of this card in your hand by 2. So effectively becomes a 1-cost 15,000 if you have 2 Son Gokus in your drop area. Now, that's definitely very good value. There's very few cards that are at that similar level of value, and getting 2 Son Gokus into your drop area isn't actually that hard. Between Kansei and Goku and a whole bunch of cheap Gokus, you can easily get 2 in. That being said though, it's kind of it's very difficult to place where these sort of cheap 15,000 should go, in that yes, they pressure opponents and they're cheap, so you can drop them down at any point if you want to pressure your opponent's life. But yeah, after they come in and attack, they're pretty easy fodder for your opponent to swing back and kill them. And considering that the metagame it's got a lot of hate and can remove a lot of battle cards very easily. Yeah, this card, I'm not sure. I don't think it'll see much play in Constructed. In Sealed, it's probably a pretty strong card. Next, we have Full Power Vegeta. It's a free cost 15,000, so it's about on curve for free costs. It's got a really awkwardly written ability as well. So when you play this card, choose any number of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost 2 or less, which the total adds up to 3 or less, and KO them. So basically, it says KO any of your opponent's battle cards that cost 2 or less, but with a total cost of 3. This is relevant in the sense that it is relevant in that it's very similar to, say, Goten's ability to kill a 3 or less. But the fact that it's limited to only killing 2 or less cards is actually really weak, and it can't kill tokens because tokens don't have energy cost, which means they don't fulfill the condition of energy cost of 2 or less. So this card isn't particularly strong. Even if you're really getting swarmed, I don't really foresee this card seeing much play. Green has a lot of options to deal with it. And this card, the fact that it can't hit a free is actually really annoying because there's a lot of very good frees in this game. So I don't think this card will see a lot of play. Even though it's got a very strong tempo ability, I think most people would rather wait for turn 4 to play Kale or Bardock. Which is a much more flexible ability. The fact that you do get out on turn 3 is kind of handy, but I don't think the payoff is good enough at 3. Next we have Vegeta. It's a 2-cost 15,000 battle card. It's a vanilla 15,000. Not much to say except for now Green has a 2-cost Vegeta that's got decent stats. So previously Green had, I believe, Tenacious Vegeta as their only Vegeta at 2 costs, and it was a 2 for 10, and it was double green, which means it didn't have a lot of splash ability to it. So if you want to play like a green-blue Vegeta deck, it was a very difficult Vegeta to get out. But this is, so I think that this card can see more play. Not that too many competitive decks will be running vanilla cards, but this card has a lot more scope now in its playability simply because it's relevant with Vegeta Evolves, and it is relevant with Union Pataras as well. So, and it's also green as well. So this card is this card is fine. It ticks a lot of boxes, and it fills a certain gap in mono green Vegeta decks, I suppose. Next, we have Full Power Trunks. So it's a 4-cost 20,000 power battle card that has Triple Strike, which is really like niche because Triple Strike is generally left to 6 and 7s that are very game-ending, very strong type battle cards. But it does have a drawback to it. So all the opponent's battle cards gain blocker for the duration of combat when this card attacks. So basically, when this card attacks, any of your opponent's ready battle cards can block this. But it is Triple Strike though, so that is the pro and con. I think that's a really big issue for this card. So definitely, you're getting a Triple Strike for 20k. So any of your opponent's guys can block this attack, and it doesn't seem to be much of a interesting payoff of it as well. So it's very difficult. So if you want to attack one of your opponent's rest mode battle cards, your opponent's one of their active battle cards are a bit of a throwaway card, like a Boo or a Bulma or something that's usually sitting active. They're going to jump into way, and then Trunks is going to get blocked by them, which is a little bit annoying. Additionally, anything with Revenge can block it as well, and there are a lot more Revenge blockers in this set. So this card doesn't really stand out enough to consider using the drawback. Also, the fact that your opponent's cards only gain blocker for the duration of attack means that there's not a lot of synergies that you can pull with this card. So if they had, say, blocker until the end of turn or something, it would allow all those sort of anti-blocker hate cards such as God Rush Son Goku and Hellish Terror Frieza to be able to capitalize on this effect or this drawback. But there doesn't seem to be anything that really can sort of capitalize on this except for Aura of Rage Super Saiyan Trunks, which allows you to blow up a free cost guy with blocker. That being said, this card should not see play. It's not particularly good. Pretty much any other future Trunks is better in this case. Next, we have Aura of Rage Super Saiyan Trunks. It's a free cost 15. It combos for 1 for 10,000. But during your turn, when you combo with this card from your hand, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards with blocker and an energy cost of 3 less and KO it. I think that this card is very, very, very niche. There's very few times, you would want to play this card over Goten. So the only benefit that this card has over Goten from set 1 is that it combos for 1 for 10,000, whereas Goten only comboed for 1 for 5,000. So this card, its scope of what it can hit is narrowed down from instead of anything from free cost and below to anything free cost below with blocker. So pretty much it's any small blockers is the only thing that it can sort of KO. If they bumped up the threshold to maybe like 4 or 5, then maybe I could see this being a relevant play. But at this stage, you'd rather play Goten almost every single time unless you have some sort of reason why you need to play Trunks. Yeah, so with that reason, I don't think this card is really going to see any sort of competitive play. Radiant Strike Piccolo. It's a free cost blocker with 15,000 power. Order at the end of their turn or at the end of your opponent's turn, your opponent must choose cards from their hand until there are only 6 remaining and place the chosen cards in the drop area. So what this card is effectively saying is at the end of your opponent's turn, they have to discard down to 6 cards. That's effectively what it's saying. Now, a lot of people were like, oh yeah, if this card came out in set 1, it'd be way more relevant simply because of Blue Vegeta. Blue Vegeta is able to pick up life, crit, and then get... you usually see the Blue Vegeta sitting at like 9 or 10 or 12 cards around the mid game, around 4 or 5 energy, and that was really, really daunting to get over. Against Vegeta, and people were like, oh, if Radiant Strike Piccolo were a thing, then that could have like really sort of hindered Vegeta decks. I do agree. But against any deck that effectively isn't Vegeta, this card's scope is significantly more limited. Like I'm definitely not saying that this card is bad. Definitely not saying that this card is bad, because there are plenty of times where if you do awaken your opponent's leader, they'll usually get around to like the 8 or 9 card mark at that stage. Then if you drop a Piccolo, then your opponent like has to very quickly cut down the number of cards in their hand. Plus, if they do attack, they draw a card, so that doesn't really help lower the threshold. So Radiant Strike Piccolo is a card that you do want to play early if you are playing aggressive deck, because you want to like awaken your opponent early, force them to draw their cards with the awakening, and then you want them to like forcibly get rid of their hand. The fact that it like activates at the end of your opponent's turn also kind of sucks, because it gives your opponent basically an entire turn to either kill this guy. And like right now, like amongst like the 3 and 4 cost cards, there are so many ways to just kill battle cards straight up. That's like, even if your opponent doesn't have a way to like shrink their hand down, Piccolo's not going to survive the turn. So I don't think, Radiant Strike Piccolo is particularly good. Plus, your opponent always has the opportunity to just like dump a whole bunch of cards from their hand to play stuff onto the field, or to just combo them from attacks and so on. So this card is not particularly good. The fact that it does have blockers is kind of handy, but there are better free cost blockers, and I'll get to one of my favorites a little bit later in the set. Next we have Destined Deed Krillin. So it's a blocker. Permanent if Android 18 is in your battle area or leader area, you may play this card from your hand without paying its energy cost. So this is very similar. Well, it's exactly the same as all the other 5,000 power blockers that come in for free if you have X character. Now, this one is a quote-unquote a little bit more difficult to pull off, but it is still pretty easy to pull off in the sense that, so Android 18 is played in both Cell decks and played in like obviously in the Android deck. So it's very easy for Krillin to come in for free. Plus, like as soon as you awaken as the 17-18 leader, your leader is also considered to be 18 as well. So you do get to play this card for free as soon as you awaken. And because it awakens at 6, it's very, very easy to do as well. So this card, I think, will see more relevant play than say perhaps the other free blockers from the other colors. There is some synergy with this card, because Android 17 has an ability that allows you to draw extra cards if you have less cards, and if you have 4 cards in hand or less. Krillin is basically a free card, so it basically allows you to effectively cheaply or freely dump more cards to the field, reduce your hand size, and then trigger off Android 17's ability to draw extra cards. So there is both an easy way to like hit the condition for this card, and also some synergy to how it's going to be relevant in the game. So this card will see more play than pretty much any other free blockers of this set. Next we have Yamcha, 2 cost 15,000 power vanilla battle card. You got Vegeta, why would you ever play this card? The only reason to play this card is for meme, so you can say, oh yeah, I beat you with Yamcha. This card will not see play because there's no benefit to playing this card over Vegeta. That's simple. Next we have Martial Expert Tien Shinhan, and this card is a very strong card, although there are some kind of like major drawbacks to it, but it does fulfill a lot of conditions that cards that are very good as well. So it's a free cost 10,000, so it's not particularly big. It's the only card right now that has a combo cost of 2 and a combo for 10,000. It's got an auto ability. At the end of the battle, after you combo with this card from your hand, if your leader is green, play this card. So this is very similar to all the other colors, how they have a free for 15 that can combo for 1, and it basically puts them in for free. This time it costs 2 instead, but it does have an extra benefit from it. So activate main, choose one card in your life and place it into a drop area. Choose one card in your life and add it to your hand, then choose up to one opponent's battle card and KO that card. So this card can single-handedly get rid of 2 cards from your life. So you sacrifice 1 card from your life, put 1 card to your hand, and you get to KO one of your opponent's battle cards. So it's very, very versatile in that regard. Something to note that it says choose up to 1 opponent battle card and KO that card. So if your opponent doesn't have any battle cards, you can still activate this card to blow up a life and pick up a life if you want to awaken your leader. So this card is simply the fastest and easiest way for green decks to be able to awaken their leader. You don't technically even need to play green as long as your leader is green, because you can just play him in for his combo. It is annoying that you have to combo him for 2 for 10,000, which means that if later on in the game, if you do want to use him as a defensive combo, it is a 2 for 10,000. So that's a little bit cumbersome. 2 energy is a lot of energy to hold up right now. So yeah, this card is usually going to just sit on your field because it's usually going to sit on the field because you're never going to use it for a combo. But the fact that it's always able to threaten like KOing an opponent's battle card kind of makes it a higher priority target for opponents to have to deal with. Because if they don't deal with it straight away, then you always reserve the potential to just blow up another one of their battle cards, even though it is an expensive ability. So at most, you're probably going to use it once per game. I don't really foresee using it twice per game, just simply because it just sucks up a lot of life if you do activate it twice per game. Although something to note is that it doesn't say once per turn. So if you are at 8 life and you really do want to awaken like super quickly, you can always trigger up this ability twice during the same turn. So you can just bin 2 life, pick up 2 life, and then awaken straight away from there. So that's one kind of benefit to this card. It will see play. It's pretty good, but it is a card with significant risks to its potential benefits. Next, we have the trio of cells. So let's start off with Perfect Force Cell. It is let's start off with free cost Growing Evil Lifeform Cell. So Growing Evil Lifeform Cell is a free cost 15,000 power battle card. It has no ability except for Union Absorb. So place 1 Android 17 under this card, and then choose up to 1 cell with an energy cost of 5 or less from your deck, and place it on top of this card. So that means, you can So this card's only ability is that you can immediately, or at any time, like during your turn, you can then you can chuck an Android 17 underneath it to evolve it into any sort of 5-cost cell. Now, this set then releases a 5-cost semi-perfect cell, which is evolving evil lifeform cell, which has a similar Union Absorb, where you can place an Android 18 underneath the card to search your deck for any cell and then play it on top of this card. It's got double strike, and when you play this card with Union, draw 1 card, choose up to 1 opponent's battle cards, and KO that card. So, at the very least, if you do Union Absorb the Growing Evil Lifeform Cell, the 3-cost cell, into the 5-cost cell, you're effectively getting your card back and you're triggering off a really strong effect. So you're basically getting the ability to KO one of your opponent's card, and you draw a card as well. So basically, you're netting back the card that you invested in to getting the 5-cost cell. So that in itself is really, really strong. So if nothing else, even if you don't use the Union Absorb to waken up to 7-cost perfect cell, this card has already claimed so much value just by itself, because it's blowing up a dude, it's got double strike, it only costs 3 because you played it from the 3-cost one, and it connects your card back as well. So that's all really, really good. But again, if you then evolve it again, the card that you can potentially evolve it into is Perfect Force Cell, which is a 7-cost card at 30,000 power with double strike. When you play this card, if your leader is an android, your opponent must choose cards in their hand until there are only 3 remaining. Place the chosen cards in the drop area. So basically, it says your opponent discards down until they only have 3 cards in their hand, and that is an unbelievably absurd ability. So anytime you do it after your opponent awakens, it's basically like your opponent's dumping like 5, 6, 8 cards from their hand. And yeah, this is really, really strong. You'll only activate this once per game, because after that point, your opponent's not really going to build up much of a hand, but it basically like severely damages your opponent's hand. You'll play it like once a game. That's pretty much all you really require. Although like its auto ability of like making your opponent discard down to 3, it does trigger off just playing Perfect Force Cell. So it triggers even towards the late game, if you're not using it as a Union Absorb, you can just play it normally, and then your opponent discards down to 3. That being said, you only play it once, because after you really like hit a whole bunch of cards from your opponent's hand the first time, you're really not going to like get enough value to play this card again. Most of the time, you're just going to like focus on playing more 5-cost cells. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. This card is unbelievably strong. Yeah, if you play any sort of aggressive cell deck, aggressive Android or aggressive cell deck, this card is a strong finisher. Something that like I've been doing recently is like playing 3-cost Lifeform Cell, evolving it straight away into 5-cost Cell, attacking your opponent's leader, and if you've dealt some damage to them early in the turn, that's enough to like put them down to 4 or less life. And yeah, you can force an awakening, or like cause your opponent to awaken. And as soon as your opponent like awakens that turn, you just play Perfect Force Cell, blow up a ton of cards from their hand, and yeah, you're like really far ahead. So you effectively just like crushed any sort of cards that they drew from their awakening. So this card, really wrecks decks that awaken. So yeah, this card sees play. It's a fantastic card. If you're playing green, this is the meta right now. This is like the tier 1 meta to go meta deck. Next, talking about bad cards, Uncountable Many Cell Junior. So it's a free cost 10,000. When you play this card, if your leader is Cell, play 2 Cell Junior tokens. Cell Junior tokens are basically the same thing. They're 10,000, combo cost 0, combo power for 5,000. This card is, it's pretty bad. 10,000 cost guys are pretty irrelevant. The only time when 10,000 power guys are relevant is when they're hitting one of those leaders that only has 10,000 power. So that's Barbity and Shield, because otherwise these guys are not really doing that much. The only like benefit they have is like, oh yeah, cool, you can play 3 of these guys, and then you can like attack your opponent's leader and then force him to awaken. Great. That's like your opponent kind of wants to awaken anyways. And as soon as your opponent awakens, these guys are 10,000. They're just sitting ducks. They're gonna get destroyed easily. Even if you do consider it as, oh yeah, you're getting free 5,000 combos. It costs free to do this as well, so it's like not even that good. So yeah, you're not even getting value out of like the free 5,000 combos. So yeah, so this card is not good. Don't play it. They like canonically, these guys were like kicking the shit out of like all those like random other characters. So they were beating the shit out of Yamcha and Tien and all of that. So I don't know why Yamcha is 15,000 power in this game, and these guys are 10,000 power. That doesn't make sense to me. If anything, this card should have been like a 4-cost card and should have made free 15Ks. Yeah, so that's what I thought. But for like free 10Ks, this card's irrelevant. Don't play it. Next, Expanding Energy Android 17. So it's a 5-cost 20,000 power battle card. Double Strike. When this card attacks, draw cards until you have 4 cards in your hand. So I really like this card. I like it a lot. I don't think you'll ever play it. So you'll probably play it in the Cell deck simply because it's an Android 17, and you need those to be able to trigger off those Cell Union Absorbs. But this card is significantly stronger in my opinion in the like Android deck, simply because you can reduce the cost down. So going from 5 to 4 is actually significantly better. And if you're at 4 or less life, this guy becomes a 25,000 power battle card. Yeah, and it draws you cards if you have 4 or less cards in hand. So as I was saying, if you can forcibly reduce the cards in your hand, then you can like draw a whole bunch of cards back. So if you get down to 2 cards in your hand, you can just bang, draw 2 from this card's attack. And there are synergies with the other androids as well. So you can allow the Android 18 does synergize with this. So yeah, so this card is great. I like it. In a Cell deck and an Android deck, it's going to be played a lot of, and it's going to be quite good. Yeah, next we have Twin Brother Android 17. So it's a free cost 15,000 power battle card. Auto, once per turn, when this card attacks, you may place 1 card from your hand in the drop area. If you do, choose up to 1 Android 18 in your battle area and switch it to active mode. So something to note, this will trigger off the first time this card attacks. So if this card attacks and you choose not to use its ability, if this card attacks again during the same turn, you can't use its ability on the second attack for this card during the turn. So you can't do infinite chains with like Android 17 and 18 where you're reactivating or readying all these different battle cards. That being said, though, this card is fantastic as well. So you need Android 17 to Union Absorb, and yeah, this card is another 17. If you're playing the Android leader, it becomes a 2 for 15. So yeah, 2 for 15s are just like vanilla, like out of standard for vanilla cards, and the fact that it has the relevant ability to reactivate one of your guys, yeah, it makes it really strong. So this card's good, but I do believe Android 18 is better because Android 17 reactivates to 18s and 18 reactivates to 17, and I would much rather have an 18 that can reactivate my Expanding Energy 17 than this 17 that only reactivates the 5 cost 18, which I'll get to now. Exterminating Energy Android 18, it's same stats as Android 17, double strike, 20k, 5 cost. When this card attacks the leader card, your opponent chooses one card from the hand and places it in the drop area. Not nearly as impressive, I think, as the other one. So this card's always going to be relevant in the sense that as every time it attacks the leader, it will always force your opponent to discard a card. Whereas 17, if you have a big hand, it's not going to be too relevant. That being said, though, yeah, I would much rather have 17, like the 5 cost 17 than the 5 cost Android 18. But yeah, definitely, these cards on their base stats alone don't really show how strong they are, because if you do play them with the Android deck, their cost and power increases. So this goes up to 25 and it goes down to 4 cost. So it's significantly better in the Android deck. And yeah, and this card is going to see less play than the other Android 18 in cell decks, simply because cell decks don't need that many 18s. They need significantly more 17s, because getting from the 3 cost cell to 5 cost cell is extremely relevant and extremely good anytime in the game. But you want to only really union absorb once from 5 cost cell to 7 cost cell, because that effect is only really relevant once per game. So you're going to see significantly less 18s than you would 17s in most cell decks. And here we have Twin Sister Android 18. It basically does the same thing that the Android 17 does. Yeah, 3 for 15. I forgot to mention before that, yeah, these cards with the 5,000 power boost is actually stupid good, in the sense that they become 2 cost 20Ks. So yeah, that's really, really good. And they have the ability to, like, yeah, reactivate your other battle cards as well. The fact that you have to discard a card from your hand in order to use the ability, not a terrible like cost, considering if you're playing it with Android 17, you are attacking with this card and you're discarding cards with your hand, and then every time Android 17 attacks, you draw a card. So this drawback is like the combo of little 18 and big 17 is significantly better than little 17, big 18. So this card will see like more play than the like bigger 18. Yeah, these cards are combo extremely well. Fantastic card. We'll see a lot of play. Next we have Encroaching Terror Android 19. So it's a 2 cost 5,000 power battle card. When this card attacks, draw 1 card, and this card gains plus 5,000 power for the duration of the turn. So it means that, yeah, it can attack with 10,000, which is kind of where most 2s are naturally, and you do draw a card. So the only value that this card has over, say, like some other card that draws you a card like immediately upon play, like a Bulma or a Boo or something like that. There are kind of 2 benefits. One, it's an Android, so yeah, you can technically search for it with Dr. Gero or Android 20. But at the same time, yeah, this card like also has another benefit in that if you can keep it protected, then it can draw more cards. So if you are playing, I don't even know why. If you play like Reactivate Frieza, you can like attack with this card and reactivate it, much like how a lot of decks were playing Reactivate Frieza with Red Kaba before. So yeah, so potentially you can tackle it multiple times during a game if you have ways to reactivate him. That being said, though, it's a 2 cost card and there's so many ways to kill them right now. This card will not see any play outside of Android decks, and even then I'm very skeptical at this stage, because the Android decks need a lot of space for the Cell toolbox, and I think that this card just like takes up space and isn't very relevant at all. Next we have Terrible Creator Android 20. So it's a 2 cost 10,000 power battle card. When you play this card, choose up to 1 battle card which includes Android in its name other than Android 20 from your deck and add it to your hand, then shuffle your deck. So yeah, so you can search for any Android except for Android 20, which makes me even wonder, why didn't they just name this guy Dr. Gero, right? If they just named him Dr. Gero, then all of a sudden they wouldn't have to exclude anything with Android 20 in it. But yeah, so this card, yeah, it sees play simply because it allows you to search for your Android 17s and 18s, which help you set up for cells. Even though it costs 2 at 10,000, that's fine. It does net you a free card, and it allows you to search your deck. So it doesn't, it's not one of those cards where you have to look at the top 7 cards of your deck to look for a card, or it's not even one of those cards where you look at the top 3 cards of your deck. It's look at your deck and search for a card, and that makes this card significantly better. You're very, very consistently going to be able to get your 17s and 18s with this card. It sees play, it's good. No reason not to play it. Iron Hammer of Justice Android 16. So it's a free cost 15,000 blocker, and like as I was saying earlier, in the set, this is the blocker I like a lot more over Piccolo. It's blocker and it's revenge. So there are very few cards in the game with Blocker and Revenge. Yajirobe is the other one, but Blocker and Revenge is such a strong combo in the sense that like if your opponent is attacking, your opponent is always threatened by the possibility of you always blocking with your Revenge blocker. But this card has even more significance in the sense that when this card KOs your opponent's battle card, switches card to active mode. So this does include its Revenge. So if this blocks an attacker, so it's active, and a blocks attacker goes into rest mode, and then if it does survive the combat, it KOs the attacker and then it like reactivates. So this card can effectively like infinitely block as long as you've got enough combo cards to get over your opponent's offense. And this card, yeah. So if your opponent doesn't have any removal for this card, then they're just basically not going to be able to attack through. So when I was playing this card in Seal, this card was just stupidly good for me. He's able to single-handedly just like brick wall a whole army of attackers as long as you've got cards in hand. Yeah, there was this time where I was on 2 life and my opponent played Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks, spawned out 3 ghost tokens and spawned out the leader. And this guy single-handedly just blocked every single one of those attackers and saved me from the game. And so this card is really strong. I like it. Do note that like if this card attacks and you can KO like whoever it's attacking, it does reactivate again. So this card is both good on offense and defense. It can just like chain attack rest mode guys, and as long as it KOs the guy, it reactivates, so it's good on defense. So yeah, if any of you guys are watching, someone create a meme like he protect, he attack, but then something. Like I'm not very good with those memes. Those memes like really mess up with my mind. But this card is like very strongly one of those like he protect, he attack memes. He's good. I like him. He doesn't really sort of fit into any sort of like particular Android or Cell deck. But if you're just playing like a green deck, then this card will fit into it. If you're not playing the Cell or Android sort of package. Next, we have Hidden Awakening Kale. So I think this is actually like probably one of my favorite battle cards of this color of this set. So yeah, it's a 4-cost 20,000 power battle card. It's got critical, and critical is an amazing ability. You don't ever have to worry about card advantage. Auto, when you play this card, choose one of your battle cards and KO it. Then choose any number of your opponent's battle cards, which total cost adds up to 5 or less, and KO them. And then when this card attacks, if you have 5 or less cards in your hand, draw a card. So I'm pretty certain that in any card game, if you have a card that is on curve and has free abilities, it's going to be broken. That's my opinion. And this card is pretty good. I like the hell out of this card. So first of all, it's got critical, which is an ability that's generally a little bit more costly than double strike. So most 4 costs have double strike, but like KO has critical instead. And I think I like critical more so than double strike. Its ability to like KO a guy when it comes into play is really, really good. And you can KO any total number of guys that are 5 or less. So, and because there's no cost restrictions on what you can select, you can wipe out tokens with it. So, tokens cost 0. So you can wipe out all your tokens and like KO up to 5 with this card. The drawback is that you have to KO one of your own battle cards in order to play this card. Now, that is kind of a drawback in the sense that if you don't have any battle cards, this card must KO itself. But there are plenty of ways for you to just play a cheap guy to KO instead. So like yeah, if you're playing like a Boo, a Bulma, Kaitsune Goku, anything that's like just a cheap 1-cost guy, if you still have one sitting around, then you can just always blow it up to pay for to pay for KO's cost. Yeah, worst case scenario, like if you really just need to wipe the board and you have plenty of energy, you just play the KO, blow the KO up, and then just wipe your opponent's board. That being said, you really wouldn't want to do it too often. Like very rarely you would ever want to do it. But yeah, so it's got critical, it blows up dudes straight away, it's removal, and when this card attacks, if you have 5 or less cards in your hand, draw a card. And so that third part is really what pushes it over the line for me, in that yeah, you can like it draws you a card. It shouldn't do that. It's critical and draws you a card. This is kind of like Blue Vegeta all rolled into one card, in the sense that it's got critical and it's got abilities that like effectively net you an extra card. Yeah, so this card's great. I love this card. Yeah, worse like there are also some interesting combos in that you can like blow up any of those free cards. So like any of those free blocks that come in for free. If you need to play this KL on turn 4 and you don't happen to have any of the like lower cost guys, you can always play a free blocker, blow up your free blocker to blow up all your opponent's guys. So this card's great. I like this card a lot. You guys should try it out. I think that you guys will be pleasantly surprised. I think that it will be seen in a lot of green sideboard decks, or like a lot of green sideboards or slide decks. because it deals with tokens so effectively, and it's such a good piece of removal. Next, we have 4 cost Cell Absorption. Activate main, your opponent chooses 2 cards from their hand, place them in the drop area. This card will not see play. So for a couple of reasons. So one, first of all, in Cell decks, they have better options. So like Cell decks, they have Cell, Android decks have Cell, Broly decks have Broly, right? And in those situations, you're paying a little bit more than 4, but you're getting a body with it. So if you're playing like Bio Broly, that's like effectively you're paying 4. So yeah, you're evolving it onto your Broly. It costs 4. You're getting a 20k double strike body, and your opponent discards 2 cards. But this card is like you're paying 4, your opponent discards 2 cards, but it costs you 1 card to do it, and you don't have a body, like you don't have a presence on the field. So this card is weak in that regard. If it costs 3, then I could definitely see this card seeing play. But it costs 4, it costs too much, and you're not getting like a board presence with it. You're not getting an attacker with it. Yeah. So this card, I don't particularly think you'll see any play. There are better options, plus doesn't really fit into any of the other sort of plays. Although, handily enough though, if you do want to play like something that does splash in green, and you want a little bit more hand control, then this does give you options for that. So yeah, this will never be seen in a mono green deck, but possibly if decks want to splash some hand destruction, then other like draw color decks can potentially splash this in. But I don't think they will. Next, we have Enraged Gohan Awakening. So counter attack, place 1 card from your hand into the drop area, choose one of your opponent's attacking battle cards, and KO it. So, people with a Yu-Gi-Oh background have said this is like Sakuretsu armor. And yeah, kind of it is in a way, Cost 2 and discard a card from your hand. Now, yeah, of course it does burn cards from your hand, but, so yeah, card advantage is pretty relevant in this game. So, discarding a card from your hand is a little bit annoying. Yeah, so we could, seeing how bad Ring Laser from set 1 didn't see much play even in yellow decks, kind of like gives me a little bit, kind of shows that how sort of major a drawback discarding a card from your hand is. That being said though, this card has a very strong ability in that you can just blow up any attacker. Now this card does very much depend on the metagame, whether there are going to be a lot of those cards that are going to have a lot of enter play abilities, or if they're going to be like strong combat units. So for example, this card would be pretty isn't particularly effective against a card like Perfect Cell, because his value has already come into play when he comes into play, or even like Semi-Perfect Cell, who has a value of destroy or do draw a card. But for any card that has like combat value, for say something like Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, or like Jiren, even something that like fights really well, or even like a 7 cost Vegito, this gets rid of him straight away. So it's both removal and kind of effectively attack negate, all rolled into one. Kind of downside is that you can't use it as just straight up removal, so you have to wait for your opponent to attack you. So if your opponent's not really attacking you, and some sort of card that's got like an ongoing ability, then you can't use this card to remove it. So it's not on spot removal, but it is so it's basically removal and destruction, removal and negate, all wrapped up in one. That being said, green already has a ton of dude removal, so I'm not sure if I would want to play this card, or would I rather just play like a full power energy or something as a defensive negate, or just like any other color negate, simply because most of the time green can always just turn around next turn and be like, oh yeah, you guys dead. 3 cost, 4 cost promo Gohan, Kale, Cell, even like Furious Raging Vegeta. These are all ways for you to just straight up blow a dude up, and green has a lot of removal. So I'm not sure if this card will see much play. It's definitely not a bad card. But my only question is whether this card adds more of what green needs to their game plan, and I don't think it significantly adds more to what green needs. Next is Father Son Kamehameha. Activate main, choose one of your opponent's battle cards with an energy cost larger than or equal to the total amount of energy your opponent has, and KO it. So basically, if your opponent plays anything on curve or larger than their curve, then you can KO it. At cost 1, it's actually very, very cost effective. And yeah, if your opponent is curving out with strong cards, then this does punish them for it. I really like this card. I think it is situational. So anything towards the mid to late game, this card's going to be pretty bad. But early on, I think this is fantastic. Especially any card that sort of skips the curve. So anything that's Evolve or Union or Potara, this card's extremely good. Being able to just straight up blow up like a Vegito or a Cell early on when you don't necessarily have the removal for them, and your opponent has dumped a whole lot of cards or investment in order to get these cards out early. This card's great. I think it might be like a 2 of in certain green decks. Or it might like see play in as sideboard cards with decks that splash green. So maybe like potentially blue that doesn't have a lot of removal and it's kind of like weak early on. Yeah, definitely I could see it like splashing in or sideboarding in like it's like splashing in 2 of these in deck or like having some of these in sideboard. So if they do get rushed down early with some of these like bigger threats, then they've always got the ability to turn around 1 cost and blow a dude up. And Cell's Birth. So it's a field card, cost 1. If your leader is Cell, reduce the energy cost of all Cell cards in your hand by 2. When you play Cell, place this card in the drop area. So, there's been a recent ruling on this in that cards that reduce energy costs don't reduce specific costs. So what that means is that it reduces the number, but it doesn't reduce the like colored dots, right? So 3 cost Cell can only be reduced to 2 cost Cell. It can't be reduced to 1 cost Cell because there's 2 specific green colors on it. So other than that, I think all the other cells are fine. We'll like get the full like 2 energy discount. That being said though, this card won't really see play. 3 cost Cell is already cheap enough as it is, and like most of the time when you're playing 3 cost Cell, you're playing 3 cost Cell and you're evolving it straight away to the 5 cost Cell like straight away. 3 cost is a very minimal amount of cost. It's not like hugely impactful, and like I don't really feel that like there's no really other cells that you want to play. Forceful Strike Cell isn't a card that you sort of really feel like playing, and then like Power Stealing Cell isn't particularly good either. So like definitely if those other promo cells were better and like were like straight up good when you just played them, I could see this card seeing more play. Simply because you put this guy down every like you play your next cell, it becomes cheaper. But outside that situation, this card won't see play, and because those other 5 cost cells aren't good, this card's not good. And yeah, that's our set review for Green Union Force. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. Hope I sort of illustrated and highlighted some interesting points of this set for you guys. And yeah, so definitely if you guys have any questions or feedback, definitely post them below. If you guys have any ideas or videos that you want me to make, I'll probably start doing deck videos in the next fortnight or so. So let me know what you guys want. And yeah, if you do enjoy my content, please consider subscribing. It does help the YouTube algorithm share this content to more people that enjoy like DBS, Dragon Ball Super Card game stuff. And yeah, I'm looking forward to like showing more content over to you guys. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. Grant J out.